So hello everyone and welcome to this 21A Workforce Management Benefits and Compensation webinar where we're going to take you through all the new benefits, all new features coming out of this new 21A release. This webinar will start in approximately 2 minutes. So hello everyone and a warm welcome to our first advisory series of 2021. These sessions are focused on delivering and updating you on the new features and functionalities that are available as part of Oracle's quarterly release cycle. My name is Chris Gomez and I'm an account director here at Evasys. And today I'm your host for this session, where I'm also delighted to be joined once again by my colleague, Purva Sharma, who works in our Centre of Excellence team, and will be taking us through the workforce management benefits and compensation features in 21A. Purva has over 5 years' experience of working across the Oracle HCM modules, such as core HR, benefits and absence. And supporting us today will be Viral Suchak, who is on hand to answer questions throughout the webinar. And Viral too has been with Evasys for 4 years now and has some strong knowledge of HCM, particularly around absence, OTL and payroll. Purva will be taking us through the hot topics and everything you need to know about the main features of this release. And this particular series is an extended series, so we're allowing for 90 minutes to give us greater time to cover all of the features that are available in 21A, and also to give us good time to answer any of your questions. However, as always, at the end of this session, we will make an extended PowerPoint available to you so that you can review and reflect on everything that you hear today around the features. So by means of an agenda, we would like to cover 4 main areas. Firstly, I will talk a little bit about the approach to Oracle updates before handing over to Purva, who will take us through the analysis of the latest release, providing an insight into the new available features, as well as highlighting things to consider when deploying them. This will also cover known issues that need to be considered. There is quite a bit to cover today, so Purva will likely talk to us about these features for around 50 minutes to an hour. After this session, I would like to spend a little bit of time talking to you about the role innovative technologies plays in supporting your Oracle investment. And today's focus, as it has been throughout this series, is on robotic process automation and how it can support regression testing, as well as automating business processes. We will leave some time at the end to cover questions, but please do ask any questions throughout the webinar in the chat option that you have available. The video will manage answering these for you, but some of the questions that you have may be left until the Q&A session. So please don't worry if we don't answer the questions straight away. It may be that actually we want to cover those at the end so that everyone can actually hear. Okay, so moving on to the approach. This slide will be familiar to many of you that have joined our previous sessions, but I'll run through it to serve as a reminder for you, as well as to benefit many of our new attendees that are joining us today. When we talk about an update, there are generally 4 categories of events that we must consider prior to deployment. Firstly, we need to analyze and consider each of the options that are available to be rolled out and the impact they have on user experience and productivity, and then effectively answering that question of do we need it as well. Secondly, we have to plan how we deploy the updates by carrying out some sort of impact analysis. We then need to ensure that there are no issues as part of rolling these out. And during my session later, I hope to provide some insight in how we can help you with this phase. And I'm sure you'll agree that from the 3 phases I've talked about so far, this is the most intensive and time-consuming phase. And the 3 phases or stages I've covered so far then put us in a position to launch that new version and the new features. So our session today looks to support phase 1 of this 4-step process, as well as looking at how we can help you with step 3. The way we present the information regarding each feature is summarised in this following slide. And as with the previous slide, this may also be familiar to some of you that have joined previous sessions in this series and ones before. But just to serve as a reminder, each slide includes the name of the feature with a short description of the release or of the feature to inform you and give you a brief on what the feature is for. We also include a business benefits section to help you understand how it may be advantageous to your organisation and the outcomes that it could provide you with. And then on the right-hand side of each of those slides, we include a high-level impact analysis with 4 main areas. So firstly, you have the impact level. And this is generally the impact that it's going to have on your Oracle Cloud environments. So a large-scale impact being a high, so effectively you'd need to consider regression testing, and a low would be the complete opposite. Does the feature need to be enabled, or will it just appear post-upgrade? How about configuration? Well, again, we give you a yes/no to highlight if configuration is required, and obviously, clearly, if configuration is required, you need some more planning time to actually get that feature released. We also include a quick win gauge, which considers the level of effort and time required to get that feature set up. So, Purva, I'm sure everyone is keen to hear what to expect from a workforce perspective in 21A. So can you just take us through what we're going to expect in this version?
Sure. Thank you so much, Chris, for the brief introduction. Hello and welcome everyone to the 21A quarterly upgrade webinar for workforce management, benefits and compensation. So today we'll be taking a look at feature releases of 21A upgrade. As you can see here, we have put up a small analysis for reference, having 41 features introduced as a part of 21A upgrade for workforce management, benefits and compensation. Out of these, based on our impact analysis, we have 17 features that are enabled by default and are considered as a quick win. And we have 5 features that are opt-ins and are also considered to be a quick win. The others are grouped as the rest of the features, which does not necessarily mean that they're not beneficial, but the focus on this webinar would be to elaborate on the ones that require less consumption of time for configuration and also makes an impact in terms of efficiency. So starting with the quick wins that are defaulted with no configuration. The first absence management 21A upgrade feature is that now plan balances rest resource has been enhanced with 2 new child resources. One is plan balance details child resource and the other is plan balance summary child resource. The plan balance details child resource would give all the transaction related details that would impact the plan balances, and the plan balance summary child resource would simply give the summary of this information at transaction type level. You can also view what transactions basically contributed to the balance as of a given date for both of the child resources. In case you do not pass the balance as of date through the finder, the application takes the configuration that is present at the absence batch parameter page, such that if you can take a look at this screenshot, if balance calculation date is set to current date, then the application will consider the system date as the balance calculation date. And if it is set to last calculation date, then the information will be returned as per the date on which the balance was last calculated. So this feature benefits us by offering users the convenience of extracting transaction level summary and transaction level details for absences. The next feature improves the sale of accrued balances by offering some tighter rules. By this, what I mean is that when an employee makes elections to sell the number of hours from a plan that is set up on anniversary year, then the date that is captured is called election date. Now, if the term of the target plan is, however, a calendar year, then in that case, the life event date is the first day of the calendar year. So, with the introduction of newer rules, this elected sale made by the employee will be processed only on the year-end date that comes after this life event date. The initial year-end balance will be calculated and the disbursement for the elected amount would be sent to payroll with default payment percentage. So now when an employee decides to sell the accrual balance, the HR specialist can ensure that the employee is paid properly, as now there is greater control over the sale of accrued balances. One thing to note here is that you will need to set up elective disbursements for absence plan by enabling benefits integration. Next is absence entry updates in workforce management. So now on the time card, you would be able to view on the saved entries the assignment of the employee as well as the absence management type in read-only mode. For example, as you can see here in the screenshot, we are viewing the time card of an employee that is in saved status, which also displays the job on assignment as well as the absence type. Please note that you cannot directly make changes to these entries, and in order to make any updates, you will have to delete and re-enter them on your time card, as you can see in this screenshot. So this update maintains the integrity of data between absence management and time and labor. The next feature will not only provide clarity, but would also offer an improved absence duration calculation. So now, for all the absences that are entered in advanced mode, it is mandatory to select the assignment field. So as you can see here, there is a drop down for business title, wherein you can select the specific assignment against each advanced entry. Please note that for employees having a single assignment on the entry date, the appropriate assignment would be selected by default. Using this feature, you will be able to eliminate any sort of ambiguity during absence duration calculation. Time change audit enhancements. Now, whenever an employee requests for time change, they can also include reasons for those changes. This is not only highly beneficial way to track the audit history related to the change request, but also the managers can now view these reasons when they review and take approval actions on change requests. So as you can see here, there will be a reason field with a drop down of predefined list of values that can be controlled through lookup. The next feature is a great feature to proactively track any potential errors. So you can now preview what orphaned payroll element data the run purge process will remove without actually doing the purge. With this feature, you can generate logs that can be reviewed beforehand and reduce the possibility of purging unwanted data. As you can see here, you can select the run type as preview in log, select the plan, and simply submit the process. This way, you can resolve issues proactively without the need to reach help desk. Now coming on to the updates related to workforce compensation. The first is to test eligibility profiles in workforce compensation plan setup. Now we have faced challenges where testing the eligibility profile has been time consuming when it comes to workforce compensation plan. This gets testing after running the start workforce compensation cycle batch process. So with this upgrade, the eligibility profile can be easily tested using the test eligibility profile button that you can see here, that is newly available for validating plan and component levels. This button will navigate you to a page where you can select the cycle, the person, and the assignment that is to be tested, and it will give you the testing results with the eligibility status and the reason. Please note that if you have configured a formula in eligibility profile, then also you will be able to test eligibility and use this feature by taking a look at the generated formula logs. View manager assignment number when searching in start process manager hierarchy search filter. So there is an improvement in tracking the assignment number as it is now visible as a part of search results when you search for a manager in the manager hierarchy search filter. This feature is beneficial as now you can view the difference between the managers easily with the help of assignment number as shown in the screenshot. Similarly, you can now view the person number and the assignment number for the people in audit export report in view administration reports, as you can see here on the screenshot. This again gives administrators the benefit to easily differentiate between people and their assignments for clear picture of the audit trail. Next is also similar to viewing the person and the assignment number, but instead of audit export report, this would be in manager status report. The manager version is available from the landing page, as you can see here. And the administrator version is available in view administration reports, as you can see on the screen. Next compensation feature that we have is reprocess or add new plan to batch process. Previously, this action was completed online. However, with this upgrade, this action is now completed in a batch process, which means that the administrators can now review errors in case there are any error messages in a new report. As you can see here, the administrators can choose the plan, the cycle, and the effective date when they reprocess or add a plan to a person. Also, they can now use a new administration report, as you can see here, to troubleshoot any error messages. So before we move ahead, I would like to take a pause here and break the flow by taking a quick poll and to get your opinion on one of the well-known feature that we had in the previous upgrade. So Chris, would you like to go ahead with the poll question?
Certainly. Okay, so the poll question is we'd like to understand whether those of you that have attended today, have you enabled the assignment security for absences feature that was made available in 20D? So you should see a poll screen appear on your screen now. It'd be great if you could just vote. Just to confirm, I am writing that it was 20D that they released that. Thanks to everyone who's voted so far. I'll leave it open for a few more seconds just to allow for everyone to cast their vote. Okay, and I'm closing it now. Right, so just to share the results with you. So Paul, 88% of the attendees today actually said that they haven't enabled that. Back over to you.
Thank you, Chris. All right, so coming back to the 21A upgrade feature, now moving on to the quick wins, having default set to yes configuration. The first one is an enhanced user search experience provided to employees or line managers while adding absences. Now, as you can see here, we have absence type as well as the business title field that is to be selected while recording an absence. The benefit here is that you can simply start searching by typing the absence type name or business title, and as you begin typing, you will start viewing the results that are matched with the list of values. This in return provides type ahead capabilities and improved performance. The second feature is related to giving a greater control over approvals when it comes to work schedule assignments approval flow. The manage work schedule assignment process is now available in the transaction console, and there is a change in the default rule setup. So previously, the approval requests for any change in work schedule assignment used to go to requester's assignment manager by default. However, with this upgrade, this approval request would go to employee's primary assignment manager by default. Along with this, you can now also configure the approval for changes in work schedule for employees with multiple assignments such that the approval is routed to the relevant assignments manager. This is an absolutely beneficial feature as it not only aligns this process with other HCM approval processes, but also gives greater control over approvals. Next up is a benefit-related quick win that would enable employees to start making their enrollments quicker with easy navigation. So with this upgrade, we now have quick action as well as a deep link for the participants to direct them to the enrollment flow from people to cover page. The quick action people to cover is visible to employees under the Me section from the home page itself. From the landing page, the employees can not only add or edit their dependents or beneficiaries details, but also hit on the continue button and start their enrollments. This quick action can also be integrated with checklist, which is beneficial in cases of new hires. Along with this, a deep link of the same access is also provided, which can be used in the alerts that are configured. As you can see here in the screenshot, these alerts can be an email or a notification alert, which would have the deep link for the employees to directly access their enrollments. The next feature is the renaming of the salary basis type. So as you can see here, the salary basis type that was previously named as salary amount determined by components has now been renamed to salary amount determined by incremental component. This is done to improve productivity and configuration decisions of the users. This feature is also with respect to the visibility of salary components, as now you can view the allocated salary based on different component types on the view compensation history page itself. As you can see here, if you click on the details button, then you will be navigated to view the salary breakdown component wise. Next is audit assignment segment changes. So with this upgrade, you can now have a visibility of the changes done to the assignment segments in the worksheet while reviewing the audit trail. This feature can be configured from Configure Assignment Segment Task in the plan setup. You will see a new column as shown here, Audit Differentiator, and you can select any one column as the differentiator. Please note that you should also have include an audit trail checkbox checked to view changes in the audit trail itself. Finally, we have the quick wins that are opt-ins feature. The first opt-in feature that we have should be absolutely beneficial for the organizations having multiple assignments. 21A upgrade introduces a new section called multiple assignment rules at the absence type configuration setup that basically provides with two checkboxes. One is allow assignment selection at absence entry, and the other is allow only one assignment per absence. Both of these checkboxes ensure that the absence that is entered by the employee having multiple assignments basically impacts only one of the specific assignment. You can configure absence types in three different ways. That is at person level absence, which is by default, only assignment level absence, or either person level or assignment level absence. The second opt-in feature is highly impactful and helpful feature that has been introduced as a part of Benefits 21A upgrade. With this feature, you can ensure that the users do not miss out on enrolling their dependents or beneficiaries while completing their benefit elections in a case where it is mandatory to enroll minimum one dependent or beneficiary. For example, while making benefit elections, the employees enrolling in employee plus spouse or employee plus children often miss out on enrolling their dependents. They enroll themselves, but they miss out on enrolling the dependents. This feature would give a validation error, as you can see in the screenshot. It will tell you the plan and the option name, along with the minimum number of dependents that are needed to be enrolled to complete their benefit elections successfully. The benefit of this feature is that it reduces the number of action items for admin to resolve and eliminates post-election formula need. As you can see, this can also be enabled through a checkbox on the self-service configuration page. Two important things to note here is that you can opt out of this feature and it will continue to behave as it is. And secondly, this validation would not work in case of override enrollments or in case the enrollments are uploaded through HDL or spreadsheet. Another feature is close life events after making elections. The benefit administrators can now control the closing of life event from the benefits service center as a part of enrollment flow directly. Most of the time, we see that the admins have to perform a couple of extra steps to close the event manually. However, this upgrade will save admins some time and make closing events easier. The admins will receive a pop-up message after submitting the enrollments asking if they want to close the window or not, and this can be controlled accordingly. So if you click yes, then the window will directly close down. And if you click no, then the system will behave in a similar manner as to how it is behaving currently. You can also choose to opt out of this feature using this checkbox. The checkbox is available on the self-service configuration page. Next is responsive pages access from compensation work area. So this new feature makes the accessing of responsive pages such as change salary, salary history, individual compensation, and administer individual compensation tasks easier and quicker directly from compensation work area. The major benefit of this feature is to enhance user experience satisfactorily for the HR specialist so that there is consistency within each responsive pages. The final opt-in feature is the individual compensation plan integrity feature. Now, as the name suggests, this feature checks the integrity of the individual compensation plans by detecting and reporting payroll elements that were deleted but somehow retained in the individual compensation plan setup. So previously, such cases used to create orphan data and cause issues in allocations. This can now be handled by using purged orphan payroll element setup data from individual compensation plan. As you can see in the screenshot, the plan can be validated using the validate button. And if there are no potential issues, then you will see a message that says that the validation has passed. Otherwise, you will see an error message like this, which can be referred to resolve potential errors. All right, so now moving on to the OTBI enhancements. One absence-related OTBI enhancement that should be helpful with respect to multiple assignment employees is that there are now new attributes introduced such as assignment ID, single assignment flag code, and assignment flag name for absence real-time subject area under the assignment absence details folder. As we have seen, the absence entry now allows user to select a specific assignment when entering absences so that the employees can take time off from one of the assignments. This OTBI enhancement helps in tracking just that. So coming over to the known issues. Known issues in 21A, we have one new issue added that is related to absences OTBI security. Now, as we are aware, the absence management supports HCM assignment level security in 21A. However, this access restriction is not supported in OTBI at this time, which means it will display absence information for all the assignment of employees, irrespective of the access authorization. Unfortunately, there is no workaround for this currently. So all the other issues remain similar to what we had in the previous 20D release. So you may want to refer this PPT and go through the mentioned workarounds. In the interest of time, I would not be taking you over them as they are repetitive in nature. So on that note, that is what I have for today to talk about workforce management compensation and benefits 21A upgrade features. We have covered all the quick wins, OTBI enhancements, and known issues. Now I would like to hand it over to Chris to take this further. Over to you, Chris.
Thank you very much for taking us through the features. I'm sure that there are things in there that a lot of our attendees will look to deploy and benefit from. I will use this juncture now as an opportunity to bring in Viral. Viral, is there any questions that have been asked as part of the session that Purva has just done with us? Are there any questions that have been raised that we can maybe discuss now?
Yeah, I think, Chris, there was one question that was asked twice. The same question was asked twice. So I think it would be better for everyone if I tell them like what could be, what is the answer for that, and that would be beneficial for all. So the question was like, when we are entering the absence for employees with multiple assignment, there is a field called as business title. Currently it only supports job title. So the question was, can this be modified to something else like position name or any other thing? So currently it is not supported right now, but maybe in future upgrade Oracle will bring in this as it is a desired feature, and this should be available. We should be able to modify that. So I hope that answers the query. And Chris, I think that was the only question asked, and that was asked twice. So I wanted to take it here.
Thank you very much, Viral. Thank you.
Yeah.
So just a reminder, I mean, obviously use this now as a time to reflect on some of the things that you've heard Purva take us through. But please do ask questions. Now's a great opportunity whilst we've got the experts on the line. And obviously I want to make sure that we keep Viral as busy as possible. But whilst you are reflecting on that, let's move on to the next part of this particular webinar, which is looking at how technology can help us. So in terms of how technology can help with not only facilitating the release cycle, but also how you can drive further success from Oracle applications, we've leveraged the latest technologies and created a series of packages across 3 distinct areas. So we've got RPA, which is robotic process automation, analytics, and chatbot. So with RPA, we look at how we can help our customers automate the regression testing piece that's carried out for each quarterly cycle to save time and provide focus on where it's required. We also look at how we can help to save time with automating business processes too. From an analytics perspective, our value-based analytics that can be overlaid on the existing analytics solutions that you may already have can provide key information in 4 areas. So firstly, we can look at identifying processes that can be optimized or even automated. In terms of system adoption, we look at helping to identify areas and reasons for low adoption rates, and in turn provide recommendations on changes to improve these. We can also look at the data outputs that you and your teams need from the system to provide greater visibility of data. And then finally, we cover audit and compliance that look at regulations, segregation of duties, as well as ensuring compliance with things like internal SLAs that you may have in place. The other point to raise here on the wider analytics topic is that data and analytics shared across the business can lead to much better outcomes. And clearly, we all know this, but data is often siloed into each business unit or department in an organization. And obviously, there is some data that needs to be kept within departments, but I think it's worth thinking about whether having a more holistic view of data from across the organization would help you and your colleagues. Perhaps those non-Oracle solutions that you may have running within the business. And we can talk about how Oracle Analytics Cloud and the wider range of technical solutions can help bring that data together, but also how Evasys can help in getting the data into Oracle Analytics, as well as how you can get the most out of that data as well. And finally, chatbot or digital assistants, as many of us know them. So we're all used to dealing with these solutions in our personal lives, particularly when we're looking for help from online retailers or even things like utility providers. And they can be frustrating, it's fair to say, but it's also fair to say that they've come a long way in the last few years in providing positive outcomes without the need of waiting endless amounts of time for the phone to be picked up by a customer service representative. And actually, we're seeing more and more of these digital assistants being deployed into businesses internally too. And some of you may already have these digital assistants deployed in areas, and the typical one we see is within the HR team. Some of the more popular digital assistants anyway, but they can be extended to not only improve system adoption through an improved user experience, but also they can be used to help with reducing departmental overheads around answering customer or internal queries. Whilst HCM does seem to be a popular area to deploy these, they can be used in almost any department and are often seen actually as an inexpensive quick win with a great return on investment. So for today, I'm going to be talking a little bit further about RPA, but we'd like to cover analytics and chatbot in the next advisory sessions for 21B and 21C. But what I'd like to do is just use this as an opportunity now to gauge what would interest you more particularly for the next session, 21B. What would you like to have a session or a short session on to complement these? So obviously, with RPA being done today, we're looking to understand whether you'd rather hear a bit more about analytics or chatbot. So I'm just going to launch a poll now. And if you could just vote accordingly so that we can then decide on what to cover in the 21B. Okay, I'm just going to close off the poll now. Wow. So you should be able to see the results on the screen. This is the first in this series where we've actually had an absolute draw. Generally speaking, across the other webinars that we've done in the 21A series, there's been a lot more of a preference to cover analytics. But nonetheless, if any of you want to talk about how analytics or chatbot can help you all personally in your organizations, please do use the contact details that I'll share with you at the end of this webinar to get in contact with us. But what we're going to do is we're going to look to get the results from the entire series, and then we'll choose the most popular of the two, and then you'll see in 21B us covering one of the two, and then covering the other one in 21C. Okay, thank you very much for those that voted. So let's just spend a bit of time talking about RPA in a slightly bit more detail. So RPA can be broken down into two main areas that could benefit you. So regression testing, as well as automating business or transactional processes. So firstly, from a regression testing perspective, many of you on this webinar will be focused around workforce and the wider HR. So I have included some of the example test scripts that we've got for regression testing. So you can see that it's very much a work in progress at this moment in time. We initially started off in the finance piece, and we're busy working our way up. But it's really important for us to maximise this time that we've got in each of these quarterly releases to give you the most amount of time to actually prepare yourselves for the actual release. And we always see that the regression testing being the most time-consuming phase of the release, we're finding ways of reducing the elapsed time. So by running with these processes alone, the Centre of Excellence team across all of the regression testing reported back a 20% saving on testing time as a result of using RPA between 20C and 20D. And that's going to increase over time because for every month that goes by, we are adding more regression test scripts to our automation. But we do have customers that have saved nearer 70% on testing time. But it's obviously important for us to be realistic with you that time saving will be exponential as you invest more time and energy into working with us to tailor the testing processes up front. Now, the one thing to also say is that it's really important for if you do have bespoke processes that we actually work with you to tailor the testing of those processes as well. But nonetheless, where we did this work for customers and use the RPA solution, that 20% that we experienced was passed back to customers, and we were able to focus on the failed processes and reviewing and resolving any config issues, or even where necessary, alerting Oracle to any software related issues that needed to be fixed. But the great thing about this was it wasn't just about the time it saved us and our customers, but it's also about the speed or the elapsed time which the tests have done, and it ultimately gives us more time in that testing phase to make sure that you're ready for that release. So from a business process automation perspective, this is where I feel that there is a larger saving to be realized. We spoke earlier about how VBA can be used, or the value-based analytics can be used to help identify business processes that are ideal candidates for automation. But once, if we are using value-based analytics to find these processes, once they've been identified, our recommendation is investing time up front to standardize or even redesign the processes before you automate them, if necessary. So the reason why I say that is Forrester wrote an interesting paper back in 2020 talking about the importance of RPA in this modern world. And it was actually quite interesting because they were talking about the importance of RPA in a post-pandemic world. And they included some golden rules for robotic process automation. And they said that it's vitally important to carry out the standardization and process rewrite step up front, even if it increases the initial costs of deploying RPA. And that's because ultimately it will lead to a more sustainable automation with improved returns. They also went on to say how important it is to have well-documented processes and a process map. So hence why it may be good to review those processes that may not be well documented at this stage. Automation is normally a fragment of a wider process. So we always need to ensure that the automation factors in any dependencies, if there are any, that are associated with a wider or bigger process. The other interesting point in that report that was made was that humans still find more improved ways of getting a job done by using different tools, for example, or even identifying shortcuts. And that's why it's better for the human side to look at simplifying and standardizing processes first, before then deploying them into some sort of process automation. And then we've got the benefit side. So once you've automated a process, it's available 24/7. So think of some of those more transactional processes. if they are intensive, they can actually be fed into one of these engines, and they can run 24/7. And because of this, RPA is more efficient. So it's more efficient in actually getting that job done. And the other benefit that's linked to that is speed. So not only can processes be carried out 4 to 5 times faster than humans, process automation doesn't have the distractions that we all experience from time to time. So things like being interrupted by a phone call or someone popping over to your desk to ask a question. Given the current restrictions that most of us are under, I personally would welcome, being in an office with colleagues interrupting me. But ultimately, that the point there is that with an automated process, you're realizing speed because you don't have those interruptions. There's also assurances over the level of accuracy. So as long as the data is correct up front, you give the data to a robot, and that task will be delivered consistently time and time again. Then the final point is around focus. So many processes that are automated, or many candidate processes for automation, revolve around data entry. So if we take these processes away from employees, it allows them to add focus and value add activities and it increases that employee engagement as a result. So hopefully you found that useful, and if it's something that you'd like to explore further, please do contact us either via the information that we give you at the end of this webinar, or if you have a project manager that you engage with, please engage with them. And I'd be delighted to talk to any of you further about how RPA can potentially be used in your organization, or actually analytics or chatbot for that matter as well. So moving on to the final stage of the webinar, we had a short interval where I asked Viral if there are any further questions. But Viral, can I reintroduce you now just to see if there have been any follow-up questions from either part of the session or from the session that I've just taken our attendees through?
I think Chris, you can continue. I haven't received any further questions.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is let me just give you the closing note, and I will come back to allow you all to, if there are any sort of final questions that you may want to put to us, to give you that opportunity to actually type them out into the questions section. So in terms of what happens next, so the presentation that we're using today and the actual session which is being recorded will be made available and sent out to the registered email. We will include a feedback form. I've said this in other sessions, but your feedback is really important to us. The idea of these sessions is for our customers. It's your session, so we want to make sure that you get the most out of it. If you have any suggestions, even if it means running more sessions or anything that you think that could make these sessions better, please do take the time to actually fill in those feedback forms. Or if there's anything that you find really positive about them, it's always good to hear that if we're doing something right. Also, speak to your project manager or email us at business@evasysglobal.com if you want to talk about any additional services that Evasys can provide you with as part of these quarterly updates, any support that you may need in actually deploying these features. Or if you do want to learn more about some of those innovative technologies that I've touched on in that final session. I've spoken about the fact that this is the first 2021 series, but we do have a series of webinars within this series. So we've already covered finance, global HR, talent, and this particular session, which looked at workforce management and compensation. We do have 3 final webinars. On the 25th of January, we've got the supply chain management and also the HR help desk and Oracle recruiting webinar. And then finally, on the 27th of January, we've got the global payroll session. So if you're interested in any of those, or if you have colleagues that may be interested, please do visit our website or email us at business@evasysglobal.com so that we can actually register you onto those sessions. So I'm just going to come back to the closing slide just to make sure there's no other questions, Viral, for us to answer. Viral, are there any other questions?
No, Chris. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much for joining us. We were able to cover the webinar in slightly less time than we'd anticipated, but it's been a pleasure to be your host for today. I hope you found it useful, and we hope to see you again in the next few webinars, or failing that, in the 21B webinar for workforce management benefits compensation. Thank you very much, and I wish you all a very, very happy weekend.